Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial.
And we're rolling.
Woohoo!
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Emily. How's it going?
It's going really great. How is it going with you?
It's going really great, too.
I'm afraid to lean on this table. So, guys, we're not where we usually are when we do the podcast.
It's wild.
It's wild. You guys have no idea. We are on a little adventure, little best friends weekend, hanging out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Sure are.
Yeah. So we are actually we're in a hotel room. We have like this, I don't know, it's on like this glass table.
This tall, lovely glass table.
Yeah. And I'm not shouting out what hotel this is because I might not have nice things to say about it.
I don't know why you don't like it. I like it.
I think it's nice. Like, I think it's very pretty, but I have a lot of gripes.
Okay.
Like, I don't
Like
like okay. I don't like when you go to a hotel and it's under construction. I feel like it's false advertising when like they have things blocked off and they obviously have like fake walls put up.
So did you feel like the front desk was under construction?
It was not where the front desk normally is. I think they were like moved into a certain area, and if you went down the hall, there was like, I don't know, it was like it had like a printer just in the middle of the room. Yeah. I feel like
I don't need to see your printer.
Yeah, I feel as if they're under construction, and I didn't even see any signs that said we're under. Sorry,
they didn't apologize.
They didn't apologize for it. They're just like, no, there's nothing. This is all normal. And I felt very claustrophobic because they had faux walls up. So and like the ceiling was low. It was weird.
Yeah, the room that you walked into to check in was like 3 makeshift desks with like sheets over them. They were probably cardboard boxes under there. And then they had like lanterns on the floor around it.
I know.
And also, guys, listen, if you own a hotel, everyone has a rolling suitcase now.
Right.
Stop putting carpet in.
Seriously.
Like, it doesn't work.
No. There's no reason for it. And I will say this. It's a very nice hotel.
It is very nice.
It's in a great spot, Center City. I'm very excited to be here. But at the same time, I'm feeling very, I don't know. I think sometimes when you do stay at a nice hotel, you're even more, you have
expectation.
Hey.
Right.
I should get some money off because this is not the splendor.
We were also warned when we came into the room not to touch anything in the mini bar or
pain of death. Like the woman, she looked at me very just dead in the eye, and she was like, there's a mini bar in your room, but if you touch any of the things or move them, it's sensor operated, so you will be charged. Even if you just touch them or like move them, I guess.
Right.
You could be charged for it. So she wanted to make that very clear to me.
Listen, poor person.
And I was like, listen, if I wanted to, I could
eat all those snacks.
I could have some snacks. Right. You're not the boss of me, lady at the front desk.
How much could a bag of Pop Secret cost?
Well, this is my question. So and this is the other thing about this. So they have a fridge that's the mini bar that has, beverages in it and everything, and some perishable items, I suppose. But they don't have a regular fridge where we could put our own items.
No. Well, as far as we can tell, I want to open the door to the fridge to see what's back there, but Emily won't let me.
But I don't want to go broke.
Because my luck, the whole door will fall off.
And everything, it'll just fall out and cascade onto the floor.
But I will Indiana Jones it and switch it or something else.
No, you won't.
I won't.
I know. You'll be like, I'll Venmo you.
Just like I've been the whole rest of the day.
Yes.
Like I'm off my game.
Yes, indeed. But anyway, guys, we're still, even though we sound like some really complaining people right now.
Yeah, we're not.
I also want to tell you this. We would never, ever say anything to any of these people who are here. We say we are nice, we're kind, we like ask them, we chat people up in spite of the fact that, we
don't like talking to people.
Right. Like we're very introverted and it's probably painfully awkward for them and for us to engage.
While you were waiting in line to check in, the concierge came up to me and asked me if we needed any reservations or transportation accommodations. And I noticed he didn't ask other people that, which made me believe that I look like I'm better than everyone else.
I love that that's how your brain works. You're always just looking for validation that you're better than everyone else.
From the concierge at this mid-hotel.
Yep. Congratulations, Cam. You're special.
I am.
So we thought it would be fun on our little vacation to actually do an episode away from home. So that makes this even more special. And it's Kim's pick.
It is my pick.
And you said you chose something.
So, we said we're in a hotel room, so I knew that we'd be limited to what we could watch.
Okay.
So I had to choose a movie that was on Netflix.
Okay.
I really wanted to, going into this, I was like, ooh, let me look up 80s movies about hotel rooms.
Right.
And they were all about killers.
Oh, no.
And I was like, yeah, no, not that.
Well, especially since one more thing about this hotel, and then I swear to God, I'll stop. The artwork in this hotel room is a little creepy, especially behind right in front of the room, the first thing you would look at
We'll
when you
take
wake
a
up in the
picture of it
morning.
and we'll post it in our stories.
Absolutely. Is a picture that looks like it's abstract, but it looks like a bunch of Slender Men.
It does. Six of them.
Six,
to be exact.
6 Slender Men.
Yes.
And that's the artwork. And then there's other abstract artwork where if I look at it too long, I feel kind of
Did someone pee on
gross.
that?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
I know, we sound like such dicks.
We really do.
But we're happy to be here and we're grateful.
We hate ourselves that we're like this and we
Yeah.
have to be judgy about everything.
Right.
Because I don't like to be judgy and I like to just, I always try and think, no, it's good. And and I have no gripes against any of the people here.
No, no,
I want
everyone is
to be
nice.
very clear about that.
Right.
Except for the person who chose the artwork for this room.
Right.
That
Fuck you.
But that person isn't in this hotel room right now.
No.
And I bet you they make a lot more money
Right.
than the people who are actually serving us while we're here.
Yeah. Did you say serving us?
Yeah, they're providing service.
All right.
Okay, well, let's end that there. So anyway, back to the movie.
Yeah, so I had to pick a movie that was on Netflix. Did not want a scary slasher film. Had to be cognizant of the fact that we had to sleep in the room after and, not be scared.
Sure.
And I also didn't want you to see another ghost.
I don't know. We're in Philadelphia. There's a lot of ghosts around here.
So I just kind of went with popular 80s movies on Netflix, 80s on Netflix, things like that. And I chose something that is it's a classic.
Okay.
It's a classic for us.
Okay.
It's a good slumber party movie. I feel like we would have watched it
Okay.
back then.
Okay. Have we watched this movie together in the past?
I believe we have watched it together in the past.
Oh, okay.
This movie came out February 7th, 1985. So we didn't watch it at that time.
No.
But I feel like this was pretty popular when we were older.
Okay.
And this is a teen coming of age comedy / drama.
Okay.
Okay. The movie had a $1 million budget.
That's not a lot for a movie.
No, it didn't. But it did gross $51.5 million. So it did pretty well.
Love that. Somebody made some money.
Yeah. And this movie was actually preserved in the National Film Registry as a culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant film.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. This movie was written, produced, and directed by the same person.
Okay.
And that person is John Hughes.
Oh, I know what this movie has to be.
Well, maybe you do. Maybe you don't.
Okay, I'm not allowed to guess yet.
You can guess.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
It is not.
Oh. Okay.
This was actually John Hughes' first movie that he directed. Mm-hmm. And they let him... He wanted to direct, and they weren't really into the idea because he had not directed a film before. He had just come off of 16 Candles. And he directed this movie, and they let him do it because it was a very small set, mostly shot in one room.
Okay.
And they felt like it was a good movie. Plus, it only had $1 million budget, so that wasn't that much. So they felt like they were okay with him.
It was mostly shot in a room. Okay.
One room. Yep.
Interesting.
When the movie was shot, they kind of did it like a play.
Okay.
And the actors all rehearsed. They rehearsed the movie for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
All together. Because it's a smaller cast. And they shot the film in sequence.
Wow.
Yeah. Very interesting, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the poster art for this was shot by Annie Leibovitz.
Oh, so it's probably a good poster.
It is a very good poster.
Is it a famous poster?
It is. It's pretty famous, and the structure of it and everything like that is very like of the time.
Okay.
For the poster. So this movie, like all John Hughes movies, was set to take place in a town called Shermer, Illinois.
Shermer.
Which is a fictional town.
Okay.
But obviously it was shot at a real high school.
Oh, no.
And it was originally called The Lunch Bunch.
The Lunch Bunch? Mm-hmm. Okay. It
brought over 2 stars from 16 Candles. John Hughes was...
Are we going to watch Pretty in Pink?
We're not.
Okay.
No? You're forgetting about one big movie, I think. So this movie brought over 2 big stars from 16 Candles, 2 people that John Hughes asked them to be in this movie.
Okay.
And that was Molly Ringwald.
Okay.
And Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh, no, we're going to watch The Breakfast Club.
We are going to watch The Breakfast Club.
Oh, no. That's exciting.
It is.
Oh, my gosh. I have not seen this movie in so long.
Yeah.
I feel like when we were talking about it in the car on the way over here, you were kind of like meh about the movie. I'm really excited about this movie.
I'm really excited about it, too. You know how you feel when after you choose, you get a little nervous about it.
Yeah.
So, some more fun facts for you.
I want the facts.
All
Tell me the
right.
facts. I'm here for them.
So, when John Hughes asked Molly Ringwald to be in the movie, he had originally seen her in the role of the basket case. They ultimately went to
Oh,
Ally
really?
Sheedy. Yeah, she was originally, but she really wanted to play Claire.
Okay.
And
that's kind of against, like, her type was always awkward, an outsider. Okay.
So, the people that auditioned for Claire included Robin Wright Penn, Jodie Foster, Diane Lane, and Laura Dern.
Wow.
John Hughes had originally cast Emilio Estevez as the Judd Nelson part.
Okay. I forgot Emilio Estevez in this movie.
Yes.
I am even more excited to watch it.
So that role was recast. And they couldn't find anybody to play the Emilio Estevez role. They had looked at a lot of actors and they didn't really care for any of them. So they ended up giving him that role of Andrew Clark.
Okay.
And then for John Bender, ultimately played by Judd Nelson.
Wonderfully played by Judd Nelson.
Wonderfully played.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage, Alan Ruck, who's,
I know that is.
from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Cameron.
Yeah. And John Cusack all auditioned. And Cusack was actually cast.
I could see, of all of those ones, I could definitely see Cusack because he's got like that darker thing. But you need more brooding.
Yeah,
you need more danger.
Smoky hot.
Yeah.
So he eventually got replaced with Judd Nelson.
Okay.
And then the janitor role, Rick Moranis was cast.
Oh, no, that would.
And he was going to play it as a Russian guy.
No.
I don't know.
No.
But they ultimately didn't like the way he was going to play it because it was more comedy.
Sure.
And it went to that other guy whose name I didn't write down.
Sure. Okay, great. Good facts, Kim.
So like I said, they practiced for 3 weeks.
Okay.
So now
it makes a lot of sense,
right?
Yeah.
And they shot the film in order. Ebert gave the movie 3 out of 4 stars.
Good. That's good for Ebert.
Yeah.
High praise.
He said the performances were wonderful, but the movie was more or less predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on tons and tons of lists of great movies, like a lot of the #1 best high school movie about high school, and then like greatest movies of all time, and things like that. The last time all of those guys got together was actually in 2010. They all came to the Academy Awards the year after John Hughes died. And it was Ally Sheedy, Anthony Michael Hall, Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, John Cryer, Matthew Broderick, and Macaulay Culkin. And they all came together to do a tribute for John Hughes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
And one of the things that I learned during this is there was always a thought, John Hughes always had a thought that that this movie would have a sequel. And that it would be kind of like 30 years later.
Oh, wow.
Or 20 years later when they were in their 30s.
Okay.
And a look at them to see who they had become.
So 30 years later would be 2005.
Yes.
I made you do math.
You did. And I did it.
I saw the smoke coming out of your ears.
So he really wanted them to have like a reunion when they were in their 30s that would kind of see them as they were as adults, but also really have them like play, like almost have them be different than who they originally were, like see how they've grown
evolved.
and evolved.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost like, and like some of them would be opposite of what they were, you know,
As happens in life.
yes, sure.
Yes.
And then there was another article that mentioned that he had also considered maybe like every 10 years that they would do a movie, like a very like kind of long distance sequel. But I guess if he died in 2009, they could have made it 30 years later.
They really could have.
But
But
maybe they just didn't get around
and
to
maybe
it.
he didn't, you know, sometimes you have those ideas, but then when you actually start to put pen to paper, it really doesn't come together like you would hope.
Right.
Yeah.
John Hughes spoke about this movie and said it was a difficult movie to get made, especially at that time in the mid 80s, because it was a teen movie and it didn't have the normal stuff that teen movies had, like boobs
Right.
and like frat party type things.
Yeah.
And guys like chugging beer and everything. So it was more difficult to get Universal to make the movie. In the movie too, John Hughes allowed a lot of ad-libbing
Okay.
on the set, so they were allowed to make up a lot of stuff as they went along.
Okay.
Like they talked about Judd Nelson making up the joke he tells when he's in the van, and it doesn't have a punchline. Like there's no punchline to that joke at all.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so because he falls through.
That's such a great part.
Yeah,
in the movie
yeah.
too. Yeah.
And then the library scene where they're all sitting on the floor too was all ad-lib. So like about what they did.
Yeah. Wow.
I know.
I can't believe that part's ad libbed.
Yeah. And
Wow.
then and I guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but it also just makes me think that these young actors probably were so, like, what a gift of a role for each of them, that they were really able to create who this person was and embody them. And I think that's one of the things that's so great about this movie is that you know these people when you watch it, and they are all really wonderful characters. And even though, like Ebert says, it's pretty predictable. I mean, they're in detention. Detention's going to end. You know? Like
yeah.
But at the same time, you know, there's growth. There's, you know, it's just nice to know more about them. And I think that's almost the draw to it.
Right.
You identify with at least one of those characters, if not more.
Right.
Yeah.
Judd Nelson, when he was acting in this role, he stayed in character. He was a little method on set.
Jesus.
And he was kind of shitty to the other actors.
Okay.
And like a little bit of a bully.
Okay.
To especially Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah.
And John Hughes was like gonna fire him from the movie, and it was like
enough.
over it, like this is not cool, like you can't do this kind of stuff. And I believe that he said he would never work with Judd Nelson again. Like he was just fully just like, no, never again.
Really?
Yeah.
And he didn't.
And I guess he didn't. No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Judd Nelson, I mean, he was on Desperately Seeking Susan or Suddenly Susan.
Suddenly Susan, right? Yeah.
Right, something like that. But I don't think he had any kind of major career. Maybe he was a bit of a dick.
Maybe. Or he was method. We've talked about this before. Is it method or is it dick?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
fine. There's a very fine line.
Well, one of
the
the
two.
things I thought about too was the ages of everyone making this movie.
Okay.
So Judd Nelson was 25. He was the oldest person on that set.
Okay.
Aside from the janitor.
Sure. Who was 27.
Right. Emilio Estevez and Ali Sheedy, they were both 23.
Okay.
And Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall were both 16.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They were babies.
Yes.
Well, they were the right age for the role. Like that's how old you would be in high school.
Right. They were actually the right age.
But they all
look older.
But you buy, like, I don't know. I bought that they were in. Mm-hmm. But I also, that's really interesting. That's a very cool fact. Good facts, Kim.
Oh, thanks.
Do you have more?
I have one more that I wanted to talk about before we I want you to talk about your opinions of this movie and what you thought of this movie. In 2018, Molly Ringwald actually wrote an article for the New Yorker magazine, and it discussed the breadth of the John Hughes movies and her role in them, and the treatment, the way that she was treated as a young teenage girl in those movies in the 80s.
Please say it was nice.
And, well, no, I mean, and it wasn't like her on set. It was the way she was in the movies.
Oh.
Like, there's a part in this film, if you'll remember, where Judd Nelson goes under the desk.
Okay.
And basically, if you think about it, sexually assaults her.
Yes, he does.
And so kind of her talking about how she can talk to her daughter about these movies at that time. And that's very much what our podcast is about.
Yeah. I'll be that part of the movie. And again, it's so dicey and it's so, I think that it would, that people, young women today would see that and definitely would be more appalled by it because it's just not a thing. But I feel like we watch it and we're like, oh, Judd Nelson.
Yeah, exactly.
And that definitely impacted us as young people.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that when she wrote the article, there were people like, well, he's not here. John Hughes isn't here to defend himself. And like, you know, and if this was a different time. And we know that.
Right.
We know it was a different time. And no one is saying to change it. But everyone's just saying to look at what that impact was. And, you know, and for her, you know, like when your daughter turns 18 and she wants to watch this movie, you know what I mean? Like, how do you explain that to her, someone who lives in a different time, I guess?
Right. And I do think that that's something that people do have to think, we think about more in our culture these days, which is you look at these things from the past and there is this thing of like, now we have to just say it's bad.
Right.
And there's no value.
There's no redeeming qualities.
There's no redeeming qualities, which I don't think is fair or true.
Right.
I think that, you know, and we'll see, maybe we watch it and we're just like, there are. Yikes. But I'd like to think that there are redeeming qualities in it and it shows a period of time where you do have to just say, yeah, that's how it was at that time. And that was not considered sexual assault or anything weird. That was just boys being boys, you know?
And we can still like that movie.
Yeah. Can we like Judd Nelson though after this? That's going to be the challenge.
He didn't do it.
I know he didn't do it, but now I don't know. I will say for this movie, so when this movie came out, did you watch it when you were around 85?
No.
So I wasn't allowed to watch it.
No,
and I really
wanted to too.
Oh, I wanted to see this movie.
I remember when there was commercials and things like that for it on TV. Like I do remember that and being like, this is where I want to be. This is who I am. That's my identity. I'm 8 years old.
Yeah, there was something about this movie. I think that was very much just, you were drawn to it. You wanted to see it. And I remember that it was on a video cassette tape. So it was my mother, or probably my mother. My dad did not. My mother taped it off of TV. And it was in between two movies that I was allowed to watch. Right. But I wasn't allowed to watch that one.
That happens a lot. My brother and I were just talking about that.
So we had to fast forward through it. So there was a period of time where I hadn't really seen it. But then because we like fast forwarded through it. And I think that the first time I did actually see it was when I had chicken pox. I think I might have watched it, snuck it. I think I might have snuck it.
Oh.
Yeah, because I definitely wasn't allowed to. But I think my sister had seen it. Like, I think they had allowed my sister to see it. Because she would have been 11, so totally appropriate.
Right, sure. I also think, too, like, there's definitely things, even when I watched it older, probably a teenager, that I didn't really understand as happening. Like, the scene we just talked about. And then, like, whatever Emilio Estevez's character did to get into detention, he like taped someone's butt cheeks together or something, right?
He sexually assaulted someone.
right.
So he actually put him in trouble for that. Probably because it was another boy. And it was maybe a little gay. Sure. I don't know.
Oh, right.
Maybe there's some undertones of that.
I don't know.
I have not seen this as an adult.
Okay. A lot of people talk about there's a dance scene.
Oh, yeah.
You remember?
We used to always try and do that dance.
Oh,
Did you used to do that too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then but Molly Ringwald thinks that like kind of ruined the movie because she was supposed to dance by herself, but I guess she was a little shy, so they all danced with her, and it kind of like, I don't know, made it like a cheesy dance moment. I love it. I
like it too. I feel like they're just having some fun in detention.
Yeah. So,
we didn't talk about the principal either. The principal is pretty strong in this movie as well.
Yeah, you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Absolutely. And I think that this principal, he may be the voice of, but he was definitely the inspiration for the principal in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
For sure. But I am genuinely excited to watch this movie.
I'm excited too. I mean, this movie does have a place in my heart. It's one of like my faves for sure of that time.
Yeah.
Brat Pack.
Yeah. Now let me, before we watch it, who did you most identify with? Like, who are you?
Claire, obviously. I mean, there's only two girls to choose from.
I was Ally Sheedy.
And she doesn't talk for 25 minutes in the first part of this movie. She goes 25 minutes without saying a single line.
Yeah. She's great. Like I like definitely was drawn to her as a character.
Yeah, she's
Absolutely.
a good character. She's a great character. Like when she dumps out her purse.
Oh my
and
God.
stuff.
When she does the dandruff going over the picture.
That was Parmesan cheese.
Oh. I was going to say there's some substantial dandruff happening. Well, I guess we're going to go watch this movie now.
Let's do it.
Okay, yay. Okay,
right.
Breakfast Club.
Confidently controversial.
Emily, would you like some Flow water?
I was going to say, don't you forget about me. I'll be alone, dancing, you know it, baby.
Don't you?
Well, that was a fun little romp that we had.
It was. It got real serious.
I forgot how much, that I think that's what makes this movie great, is the characters. And I realized something watching this.
What's that?
I am still these people.
Still
these people.
Do you think that's what it's meant to say? Like, we're all of those people in one?
I mean, I do think that I wonder if that's why it resonated so much, because it really does go beyond, it really speaks of a human experience.
It does. We all have flaws, Emily. We're all flawed.
We're all flawed, and we all have, we all have some problems.
Yeah, everybody's got something.
Everybody's got something. But let's talk about it. So this movie was, I think it holds up.
I don't think it holds up.
You don't think it holds up?
I think it holds up in that it's a good movie. I don't think that it holds up in that, like, traditionally when we say holds up, meaning, like, you could still watch it today and not see anything wrong with...
Oh, no. I mean, going back to what we were saying about it before, where it definitely speaks of the time. I mean, there's, we'll just say just like a hint of just gay bashing.
Well,
there's fat shaming. There's a light dusting of sexual assault. Like, just a dusting.
Right.
It's real fucked up in certain ways, for sure. But I also think that it doesn't... None of these kids in this movie are framed as being perfect people.
Right.
So I think
that's what we are meant to learn as we go along, is like they start the day as these things, but as the time goes on and they spend 8 hours together, which 8 hours is so long for detention.
I think they can come out of it and be friends. You were like, they're not friends. What? Because they spent one detention together? I'm like, 8 hours of nothing to do but look at each other and talk. Yes, they're friends.
I said they weren't friends because the one guy just got finished berating the other girl and made her cry. That's not friendship, Emily. I don't know how you define friendship.
But I guess they could be friends. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, you could totally make best friends in 8 hours.
Sure.
For life. You could.
For life.
For life. Yeah. I mean, I was actually thinking about this watching it, if I would let my kids watch this and watch it with my kids. I mean, not at the age that they are now. No. But I do think when they get bigger, I will show them this movie, because I think that it's really about empathy and acceptance.
It really is.
Why won't you let me say things about this movie? You're laughing at me. But I really do feel like that is, at its core, that's what it's about. It's about seeing past just what's on the outside. Labels
that society puts on us.
The labels. But it is about empathy, and I do think that, I mean, geez, there's adult grown people that I know that I think could learn a little empathy. It's true. And it's a hard lesson to learn. I don't think it comes naturally to everyone. Right. Seeing my kids grow up and it's not, I don't think empathy is something that everyone is inherently born with. You know, and it is something that some people have to work at.
Sure.
You know, but it's really important. I do think that that's what this movie is. It's kind of like, you know, look past what you think someone is.
Right.
Everybody has more of a story.
Oh, you know what?
What?
You
Me.
should not judge a book by its cover.
No, you shouldn't. And that is what this movie is about. Yeah, it's like Ebert said, it's pretty predictable, and it's pretty, on its face, it's pretty simple, but it's still entertaining.
It's
good.
quite entertaining.
And it's funny, and it's also sad.
Poignant.
I know. Like, okay, first of all.
All right, tell me about it.
I love Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, okay, so before you said you were the basket case, but I think you're the Brian.
You think I'm the Brian?
I'm the Brian.
I definitely think...
You might be a sporto.
There's a little sporto. There's a little sporto in me for sure.
Uh-huh.
I definitely identify a lot with that
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez character.
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel yes, I definitely feel sporto-y
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
If I had to pick all of them and think which one mostly, definitely in high school, I was more the sporto one.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think now, I don't know. Like I said, the one character I have a hard time identifying with is the Judd Nelson character.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's meant to be someone who you dislike. But I mean,
Yes.
if you asked me when we were first talking about it, it's like, oh, I love Judd Nelson in
Sure,
this
of
movie.
course.
But then watching this, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's awful.
He is awful.
I would hate
and
to be in a
think
room with that guy.
I think that he comes very much into it as though he deserves and has the right to act the way he acts because of the things that he goes through and has been through. And I think that it's very much like you use him as like the barometer to compare everyone else against, because everyone else has that same shit too.
Right.
And they're not like that.
Right. And it's funny because I think you don't feel that much empathy for him until the scene where he's in the room with the principal.
Well, yeah.
Because all the scenes before, when it's like him in the room with all the other kids, he's the bully, and he's the one who's
In the power
position. He's like controlling the dynamic of the room. He's making people uncomfortable. He's, you know, saying things that are just mean and making people upset. So he's fully controlling that. And like, that is fully how some people, like, watching this, I was like, oh yeah, like I know that kid, that person. And but when he's in that room with the principal, and
Is it the principal?
I don't know what his job is.
Okay, sorry.
I'm pretty certain he's the principal.
I maintain that the principal doesn't work on Saturday.
But at this school, I think he does.
Okay.
I think that's the
Sorry.
principal.
Okay.
But either way, truancy officer, I don't know what he does. I don't know. All I know is that he makes $31,000 a year and he has a wife and a home.
I haven't seen his resume.
But anyway, when he's in the room with Bender, the power dynamic shifts.
Yeah.
And even though, you know, the Judd Nelson character is trying to be tough, you see it shift, and you see that he knows that, yeah, this guy could really mess up
also
her
because
life.
he's a kid.
He is a
Like,
kid.
no matter what, at the end of the day, however tough he's still 17, 18-year-old kid.
Right. Well, that's what I wrote down too. It's like, you just don't think, like, in the beginning part of this movie, you just really feel like, oh, this guy's an asshole.
Right.
But then when he's in that room, it's like, oh no, he's a child. And
Right.
you remember that at that point. And I think that shifts everything that happens from that point after in the movie.
Right.
Even though he still continues to be pretty awful.
Yeah, he's pretty terrible.
He's pretty terrible.
But it's interesting to watch it. It's very interesting to watch it as an adult, too, because I think that at the time when you looked at those kids, they were grown.
Yeah.
And you saw them as more like understanding of life and just being like these people that
They're
you want to
wise.
be.
They're so wise.
Right, and cool and
Right.
just like everything. And now you're just like, oh, they know nothing. They're babies.
I know. And dude, just like when you're that age and everything is so serious and like everything is so important.
And everything you say is judged or taken a certain way.
Right. Well, I mean, that continues.
Well.
But I do think that at that certain age, you haven't experienced so much. So many things that happen to you are just big deals. And as adults, it's really easy for us to say, oh, it's not a big deal.
You're just a
like,
kid.
you're just a kid. Like, it's
Yeah.
not a thing. But it's like, no, that's shaping who that person is. Like, all those experiences when you're young. I mean, think about it. We were just talking about this earlier today. The things that we found funny when we were young, we still continue to find very funny.
That's true.
And I just think you shape who you are in that time period, and it does hold. Like, who you are then is who you are now. And I identify with these characters so much, you know, watching it. Also, okay, a few observations. I just
Okay,
want to-
go.
First of all, Judd Nelson uses the term brownie hound. Early, he uses a lot. There's a lot of like gay bashing.
Yes.
thing.
It's-
And we didn't know that brownie hound was. I mean, I thought
Right.
it might be,
Right.
but we looked it up. We confirmed.
Yes.
But brownie hound. I mean,
It's not what the first definition said.
it's not someone who really likes brownies like myself.
or someone that's just like a brown noser.
A brown noser.
It's not.
That's not what that
Guys,
is.
It's not. Don't look it up.
The other thing that it's funny to me is that when you first see Claire, she has gloves on.
Yes.
And I feel gloves, and we've talked about gloves, like Miss Piggy wears gloves.
She does.
We've
all
talked
the time.
about, I feel like we've talked about women who wear gloves in other, I think Mommy Dearest wore gloves, and it's very much a sign of wealth and
It
sophistication to wear gloves. But Judd Nelson also wears a glove.
It does. And they're both vented.
They're vented, but there's no fingers. So I feel like full glove, sophisticated and rich. No fingers on your gloves, netted.
And cold tips.
Cold tips, poor. Real pavo case. Real povo. But yeah. I had a lot of ones. Like I said, I loved Anthony Michael Hall in this, and he did a really good job acting in this movie.
yeah,
like as a kid, as a 16-year-old kid, his performance is affecting.
It is, especially when he's sad.
When he said, "Oh my God," because he's just like a little boy who's
Yeah,
sad.
yeah.
And the part when he talks about, I had remembered in this movie that, like, what I had remembered was that he's in detention because he brings a gun to school.
Right.
And I always thought that was, he was going to kill himself because he got a really bad grade.
Right.
But watching it now, they don't come out and say it, but he's kind of like, well, I can't have that grade. Like, I can't have it.
Right.
And so it's like, was he going to threaten his teacher with the gun? Was he going to
I don't know.
was he going to do school shooting stuff? At the beginning of the movie, they're showing graffiti all on the walls, and they show the quote, "I don't like Mondays."
Right.
Which is a reference to
A song.
well, not, but the song is about a high schooler in England, I think, who shot up a school. So I don't know. The thing that struck me about that wasn't that could have been the thing, which it very well might have been, but more so that I never, as a young person watching this, never thought of that, because when we were young and when we were in school,
Didn't happen.
we were lucky enough to like not have that
Right.
hanging over our heads.
Yeah.
It wasn't a reality that was part of our world.
And the fact that the punishment for bringing a gun to school that went off in his locker was one Saturday detention.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like, imagine that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's, it's crazy. Like, and in this, there's always that kid adult thing. There's one thing that the Ali Sheedy character said, where she said, I forget if it was her or Emilio Estevez. And Emilio Estevez, I remember not liking his character very much. And I kind of liked his character this time. You don't like him?
I don't know. The tank top. Really
Well,
bothers
that's
me.
not his fault. But either he or Ali Sheedy say, well, if everybody's home life is unsatisfying, if it wasn't, then we would all live with our parents forever.
Right.
And I feel like in today's world, where more young people do end up living with their families for longer, and people look at that like a bad thing,
Right.
is it a bad thing?
Right.
Or is it that, no, kids actually like their parents
Right,
and
right.
enjoy hanging out with them? And, as a parent, while you want your like when I think of my kids, it's like I want them to go off and to,
It's sound financially for a family to live together.
It is.
Like, and that's done in some cultures where the full family lives together.
Oh, I see nothing wrong with it. I mean, yeah. You want your kids to not just be like stunted and not go off and have careers and lives and loves and everything else. Like you want them to have that experience. But at the same time, I just thought that was an interesting comment just because so many people talk about now how many young people just don't leave.
Right.
Just don't
or
leave
come
home.
back.
Right. They come back after the whole thing.
Well, one thing that Ali Sheedy does say is that when you grow up, your heart dies.
Yeah. Did yours just die? Is it dead?
It's been dead.
I don't know though, because then I can watch a movie like this and I feel. I feel I'm that person? No.
I think that's the assumption though. When you're a teenager, is like you have to do all your living, and like the parents just don't understand.
Oh, I tell you, all the kids all across the land.
Take it from me.
Parents just don't understand.
Well, think about like you see the. We'll call him the principal and the janitor talking to one another, and they're basically like the janitor says to the principal guy, he's like, well, what would you, a 16-year-old you, think of you?
Right.
Like
right.
They are trying to understand it, I think, from the perspective of the kids.
What would a 16-year-old you think of you?
I think I was so cool. No, I still feel like I'm 16 years old.
Oh yeah, inside, like I am that person as well, and it angers me that no one else sees me like that.
I really feel like, and I don't know if that's a very much a Gen X thing, but I feel like we are the generation that is like eternally
teenagers,
little angsty, little just like joy seeking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know,
slackers.
I'm not a slacker.
I'm not a slacker either. I wish I was more of a slacker.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think, and I wrote that down too. I feel like when I said before, like I'm still these people. Part of that is fuck authority. Like there is still a part of me that bristles at, you're not going to tell me. There's still that part, like it's like this teen angst thing.
How dare you on this day?
How dare you? Exactly, but I feel like that is still very much a part of who I am, and I feel as if I'm constantly having arguments in my head of like things I'm going to say to somebody.
Oh yeah. Imaginary fights in my brain. I think that's multi-generational.
Do you though?
I don't know. I assume so.
I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna ask some millennials and
like,
some
hey, Mom,
Zoomers.
Do you have? No, my mom would just fight with someone.
Yeah, like I don't think.
My mom would just say it.
I don't know, Mom. Tell me.
Right.
I know you're listening, Mom.
Yeah.
Do you have fights with other people in your head?
Right.
Because I do I'm constantly fighting someone in my head.
I assume that there's going to be a lot more confrontation in my life.
I am always ready to fight someone. That's what.
Yeah, but not. Like okay, so listen.
Okay, not fist fight, but I will get into a altercation.
Will you?
I will say some strongly worded shit.
You will.
Oh, I will, and I have.
So the people that you fight with in your head, if one of them said the thing that you assume they're going to say to you, and in your imaginary fight,
I would freeze. I would not say anything back.
I know. I thought so.
No, I would not. It's more. I think the times when I have been at my boldest is when I have to fight for someone.
Yeah.
Like if I'm put in a position where I'm defending my kids or my family or something like that, like I will get in someone.
Yeah,
like I will definitely be very, if I feel like I have to be that person,
right.
I can quickly be that person. But I'm really not that person all the time. Like I think if most people would be like, oh, Emily's real quiet.
Right.
And I do think that I've heard that a lot more in my life than anything else. Like I think more people are just like, you're real quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's feedback I've gotten a lot in my life is that.
Quiet, but.
No, I only talk to you, Kim.
That's true.
Talk to no one else. Yeah. But, it's, I enjoyed the movie. Some other just quick takeaways I would like to share with the people.
Hot beef injection.
Hot beef injection was a thing that Judd Nelson says a lot of like shit that I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
And once you were saying how it was shot like a play, the dialogue felt very much like a play to me after that.
Like rehearsed in a play way, or
I guess I've watched other movies like this where I'm almost taken out of it for a second because in a play, dialogue is what keeps it all going, right? If there's not, in a movie, you have so much more to work with. You can do a close-up on something. You can, like, get a look. You can do so much more. Right. But in a play, the only thing that's pushing it forward for the most part is people talking.
Yeah.
And that's this. Like, the only, like, dialogue is what's driving this movie.
Right. Well, I definitely feel like in the intro of the movie, too, like, when they're, like, shooting, when you're getting into it and they're running the intro credits, it's very much like, let's take a picture of a notebook. Let's take a picture of a locker. Let's take a picture of a cafeteria table. Like, it's if I was going to direct a movie, the way I think you should direct a movie to do an intro. You know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense.
I also think the fact that we watched it in HD made it difficult because you just see the people moving so much more and so much more of them.
So much detail with it. Like, they put like a gray streak in Judd Nelson's hair that I think I never noticed before.
No.
Like there's something
it's like blue or gray.
Like blue or white or I don't know what it is, but they put it in the front of his hair, but you can really see it in HD.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was just to give a little lighten up or something. And back then they were like, oh, you're not going to notice that it's gray in the real thing. They weren't banking on this HD shit.
Right. And his denim jacket was so crisp.
Yeah, and his tweed jacket as well. Also, some things I learned in this movie. Parkour happens after you smoke pot.
Yeah, Emilio Estevez really gets like...
He smokes pot. He gets, what do they call it? Like fishbowl? Like where he just gets... There's a word that people say for that when you're in like a enclosed space with lots of pot. Smoke.
Waked and baked?
That's not, I don't think that's it.
No, what is it?
I don't know. We're not druggies. We don't know what it's called. We don't know what it's called, but it's something where you're like in an enclosed space. Hot house. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
But anyway, Emilio Estevez just like is totally just hot house. And he comes out and he's just like on fire.
Right, and he like
dancing.
Flings himself over bookcases.
Oh man, he's
like punching.
Parkour.
Yeah.
I'm high and I'm parkour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's funny. Also, bandanas on your boots.
Oh yeah, you're bringing it back?
I'm bringing them back. I'm bringing them all back. Bringing them all back. But I also just wanted to say too, we didn't talk that much about the Claire. We kind of touched a little bit on the Claire Bender relationship.
Yeah.
So the Molly Ringwald Judd Nelson relationship, which that's the thing everyone remembers, like the thing at the end where they smooch each other.
Yeah, and they've fallen in love despite the fact that he's a dirt and she's a. Is that what his classification is? Dirt. What is he?
I don't know.
Stoner. No, you know it's like
Stoner.
the princess.
The dirt.
Jock.
And the dirt. The nerd and the dirt.
And the basket case. And the
I thought the basket case is Ali Sheedy.
She is.
Who's the other one? So is he the dirt?
He's the dirt. What's he?
He's a rebel? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to look at the movie poster at some point. But yeah, their relationship from the beginning, he is sexually humiliating her in front of everyone.
Just overall humiliating her. Like he's really just has no like
it's
grace
brutal
or time for her.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Like to watch
because
it.
she's wealthy.
Yes.
We assume that that's what his gripe is.
Wealthy, but he's also like she's very pretty, like she's beautiful, and he's definitely he is like you can tell both him and Emilio Estevez, and they all think she's really pretty.
Right,
like, she is.
Well, but when she gets high, she's like, everyone loves me. I'm so popular.
I know. I want that soundbite, and I just want it to play. Like I want to have it so that when I text you, that's what plays.
Okay.
That's my
I'll work on
ringtone.
that.
Okay. But yeah, and it doesn't get much better throughout the movie, but every once in a while she'll kind of like defend him and they'll kind of like smile at each other.
Sideways or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to assume that they fell in love despite the fact, like up to the very end when they tell their stories and she's talking about, she does the lipstick thing.
Oh yeah.
He's just shitty to her.
He is shitty to her. And even when she does tell her story, he's just like, oh, like, boo fucking who?
Yeah.
You know? And I think, I guess it's like they're getting together because they're different sides of the tracks, and it's supposed to be like, you know, she sees him for who he is, but does he see her for who she is? Like, I don't feel like he does.
No. Right. And there's no resolution to that conversation that they all have about what happens when they see each other in the hallway on Monday.
Right, because she's like realistic about it. She's like, yeah, we're going to ignore each other.
Right. And
know?
that makes Brian cry.
I know. And you see him like the whole time. He's like, he's so upset.
Yeah,
and like when Emilio Estevez is telling the story about like how he bullied his friend, like you can see that he's like really upset.
It was probably like really shocking to their nerd community.
You jerk.
No, I mean it.
No, I know. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Imagine if you had like close friends in high school and one of them got their butt cheeks taped together. That would be a big deal, Emily.
Oh my God, it would be. It would be.
Yeah.
What group do you feel like we were in when we were in high school?
None of those groups. We were on that Saturday. We were at band practice.
Oh God, probably for sure.
Yeah.
I was probably the sporty one. Because I did all the sports. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of sports.
I did all the sports.
I did all the sports. I was very sporty. But yeah, I think that part is... I feel like they didn't need to wrap it all up in a nice little bow. Like to have Emilio Estevez make out with Ali Sheedy and you have... But it did remind me though of... It's in one way it's not realistic, but in another way it really is. Because I feel like at that age, you go into a room of people and you're just like... Who do I like in here?
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's very much how it would be.
For sure.
You would be in detention and be like, okay.
Right. He's cute.
He's the one.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think it's interesting that they kind of address the, like, virgin versus non-virgin thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you're a...
Do you remember when you were a virgin?
I do. I still am. Mom? Do you remember? Fuck you. Next question.
Oh man, this is fun. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say that, like they talk about how if you say you're a virgin, you're a prude, but if you say that you are not a virgin, you're a slut.
Or you're a tease, but then they're like, if you,
you're they make a big deal about being a tease.
Which, like, I don't know what that means. Like, be a tease. Like, don't worry about that. Like, be who you want to be, girl.
That's right.
You don't have to do anything just because these boys are making fun of you. Right. Like, do what you want to do, Claire.
That's right, Claire. And then I also want to talk about the fact that the one girl's moniker is that she's a basket case.
Ali Sheedy.
And she sees a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And is it because is she crazy? Or is she like, is this a mental health issue? She's like a kleptomaniac. She's a liar.
It seems like she has some issues for sure. But whose file does the principal look at?
I think that's teachers. I think that's other teachers' files.
Okay. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
I assume with her, it seems like there's definitely something bigger maybe going on. Mm-hmm. It seems like her parents just she's doing anything to get her parents' attention. Yeah. So it makes sense that she would be like, why have detention? She had to take me to detention. So maybe she could get her parents' attention.
She was actually like making it up. She didn't really have detention.
She didn't really have detention.
She just didn't have anything else.
Yeah, I think she was definitely attention seeking. I mean, I feel like that's why this movie does hold up in a way, because all of those characters feel true. Mm-hmm. Like it feels true that there's I mean, I've met people like that is a truism, a behavior. Sure. Like that is something where it's like, sure. I'm going to act out in this way. Mm-hmm. And the Anthony Michael, which I just, again, cannot say enough good things about his performance in this movie. Yeah. But he's definitely he's like that pressure. You felt like the anxiety this poor kid has. Oh. And they all do, except for the Bender character. Yeah. But I wonder if that's because if John Hughes is writing this thing, he's probably closer to those other four. Mm-hmm. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
he's probably closer to them than he is. Judd Nelson's character just feels like a caricature.
Well, Judd Nelson is, what do they call it? The antagonist.
Sure.
He's the one that makes all of the rest of them talk about,
Yeah.
bond and come together and talk about their issues and bring it all out. So
Yeah.
he has a very specific space in this movie that is not to be liked and not to be like pitied or felt sorry for.
But he's like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a really good movie, and I think everybody should go back and watch it if you haven't seen it in a while. It's worth another watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely more serious than I remember it being,
Yeah,
which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I kind of thought watching it, you know, I was excited to watch it for the nostalgia purposes of it, but then actually watching it, I'm like, oh no, like it is a really good movie. Like it definitely holds up, and I can also see why my parents didn't want me to watch it when I was 8 years old.
I get it.
So,
So you feel like Anthony Michael Hall's the best actor in it?
I think he did a very good job in this movie. If I had to go the second place person, if you took the dancing out, I would go with Emilio Estevez. I thought he did a good job too.
The parkour dancing, you mean?
Take the parkour out.
Okay.
And I think he does a good job of just like his character. I don't know. I think he did a good job. And yeah, I don't know. They're all good except I didn't like Judd Nelson very much. How about you? Who do you think is best?
No, I think Anthony Michael Hall did a good job. I don't think Judd Nelson did a bad job. I think in the beginning more he was better.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
All right. Well, all right. Well, we watched that movie, so
we did.
Do you have a Spado time? Spado time.
You know that I do, Emily. And it's a direct connect.
Boom. Hold on, wait a second. I was watching Seinfeld the other day because my son loves Seinfeld, and it was the James Spader episode, and he came out, and I literally said out loud, "Direct connect."
Your family was like,
My
stop.
family was just like, "Oh God,
Right.
Mom."
Well, the obvious direct connect is Molly Ringwald
Oh right, Pretty in Pink.
and James Spader in Pretty in Pink.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it sure is.
Now, do you think that for the Instagram this week, will you find a picture of them together in that movie?
Oh,
Because there is that great scene when he's like, "You're a bitch."
right. Oh God.
What's wrong with us?
I know. Seriously.
Judd Nelson, now this.
Right.
Ah.
James Spader.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you know, everybody, I want all of you to have confidence enough that you're going to talk back to authority when you need to, but not when you don't need to. But I do want you to be confident in that way.
Okay. What else?
Don't be controversial and tape somebody's buns together.
They're buns. Don't tape buns, guys.
Don't tape buns, guys. We love you, though, and you should follow us on
Yeah, all the things.
all the things. All right, we love you. See you guys later. Bye.
Controversial.